Some very interesting comments have been coming out from various angles about the quality of political communication in the build-up to the 2023 elections. Several events happening, of course, including the one that you just saw now. But let's begin a conversation around this among the political parties as they vie for votes. Matthias Sado is PDP stakeholder and a former presidential aspirant. He joins us virtually. Thanks for joining us this morning. Now, one of the natural things that will worry anyone is the quality of communication that is coming out. Most of the time, you may also have observed that the campaigns usually go around, throwing shades at the other party as opposed to talking about the programs and procedures that the party that is making the statements need to put out. I'd like to ask you, from 1999 until now, how would you assess the level of political communication, intra-party and inter-party?
Okay, thank you very much, Ayo. Good morning. I think clearly we can see that as a country, our conversations have centered around the fact that we didn't really get to understand the purpose of democracy before it was given to us. A lot of people clamored for democracy. Simply, I think at that time, in 1998, the conversation was civil rule. And because there were no proper we should talk about. Everybody just joined into this bandwagon of we want to be leaders of the country without even knowing what was the rule, what was the purpose of governance. I have always maintained that if you are recruiting someone into an organization, a job role, in our society, we have neglected that conversation. It has been relegated to the background. A lot of people don't even understand what is the purpose of governance. People just think that for you being in government, it is an opportunity for you to amass wealth for yourself. And so you can see that the clamor for political position in Nigeria, it is not centered around the most important issues. And so that is even people are not actually necessarily talking about what you are bringing to the table, what you're going to bring to the society. Everybody is just saying, oh, it is so person's turn, it is the turn of so region, it is turn of so organization, it is turn of so religion. Now, we must first of all go back to the government in a society. First and most important thing is law and order. We have neglected this. So because that is not in the conversation, people just go about clamoring for whatever. If we're able to define the fundamental things that are important to the society, then we can now begin to center our conversations around those issues. And I think. And I'm not here to campaign for the party, but I'm here to mention the fact that they have been able to give us some semblance of what we should be talking about. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar came out with a document that my covenant with the Nigerian people. And so anybody that wants to interrogate or wants to campaign or wants that you are bringing to the table, just go into his document. And I think I should call on all other people who are contesting for positions to bring out their plans so that people can have documents or have idea, they can understand how your mind works and then be able to interrogate or ask questions around your own beliefs. What is your world view? What are you bringing to the Nigerian people? I think that it's important that we're having this conversation at this time because it's very, very crucial.
Well, but then, it's not that politicians don't know these things. And I think you said something very, very crucial when you began by talking about the transition from military rule to civil rule. That was like a general caption at the time. But then you also remember that I think it was in 2015, the APC, kept talking about just one word, change. But it would seem like those are the only two major junctions that we had such slogans. I remember recently, Father Kuka, at an event recently around this, political communication thing, said every campaign should have a slogan. That would seem like, political parties are only interested in winning elections. We win the elections and we continue everything the way we were. So there really isn't anything for people to hold on to and say, this is what we are going to hold against you if you do not perform.
You see, again, I'm going to do a lot of talking about what I know. And that is talking about campaign slogans or talking about your plans, talking about agenda. I remember very clearly in 2019, when some of us young people came out and said we wanted to run for office, we felt that the leaders as at that time, the people in government, majority of them do not even understand what they were doing. And so we came up with a lot of conversations, and we had the opportunity to express to Nigerians. And I think that has given birth to a lot of conversation in the media these days. Everybody is talking about the fact that, yes, we need to change this system. But I will call your attention to one of the things that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has focused on. As one people, we can get it done. Unifier. So if you mention Alhaji Atiku Abubakar at the moment, you can see that we have something around him. And this is an example of what a campaign should be, that it is about unifying the country. It is about national integration. It is the bedrock of nation building. And if he is able to center his own conversation around that, I expect that we should be able to see what exactly is the APC bringing to the table. APC, like you mentioned, brought the idea of change. And in 2019, PDP said, change the change. But as at now, I think we have learned the PDP has shifted from that particular position to look the key and most important things, which is the issue, the problems, the challenges that are facing an ordinary person in the country. President Goodluck Jonathan mentioned something. He said, without a nation, there is no way any of you can be president or be governor or be senators without us, first of all, having a united country, without us, first of all, having a nation that is united, working together as a team. There is no way we can make progress. And so I think it's paramount that these conversations are sustained. These issues, we don't get into the personality politics. We don't get into throwing shades at each other. We don't get into making mockery of individuals. But that you as a campaign, you as a team, you as a group, what exactly are you bringing to the Nigerian people? And we should give it to the PDP. They have shown leadership. They have shown leadership right from the convention period. They have shown leadership to the picking of the vice presidential candidate. We saw the other political parties were doing placeholder, something that was alien to Nigeria constitution and our democracy.
Mr. Sado.
We have also seen that the party has decided to lead in giving us a clear direction of what exactly the Nigerian people can ask. The reason why Atiku Abubakar is not afraid to confront any organization that invites him to have a conversation is because he has a working document.
Indeed, Mr. Sado, and many Nigerians watching you would find it interesting, albeit debatable, that the PDP has shown leadership. We'll determine at the polls. They will determine at the polls if the PDP has shown leadership in the past or will show leadership in the future. But still on political communication, politicians want to go off on a tangent when campaigns begin at those campaign grounds. And if they do not if they pay lip service to peace accords signed days to elections, will they show any form of commitment? Will they demonstrate any form of commitment to rancor-free political communication during the campaigns? How can this culture be changed? Are you optimistic? And I want you to be objective now, even though you're a member of the People's Democratic Party. Are you optimistic that based on what you see, they're going to show any form of commitment, however little, to the admonitions of a meeting that doesn't even necessarily target the people that will be at the campaign grounds when the campaigns begin?
Thank you, Buki. You see, the reason see people ramble and say all manner of things on campaign podiums, they don't even care whether people are listening to them, or whether it is the things or the needs of the people that are being discussed. Have a campaign team or a campaign organization that has his agenda, his plans. You will be able to stand on the people. I want to be able to give you good roads. I want to be able to I want to be able to put food on your table. I want to be able to ensure that you are safe in your important to the people. But when a campaign or an organization or a team of people do not have such kind of ideas or the agenda, you discover that when they get onto the podium, all that they will do is to scream, especially looking at the current.
It appears we're having issues. We're having issues with your audio, but interesting perspectives that you're churning out there with that narrative about how it's important to ask questions, which is why I'm curious. I don't know if it's a possibility, while we address the audio issues, to change the culture at campaign grounds. You know, when the story is that most of those who are at campaign grounds are hired, they get a fee for appearance. Will they be able to demand accountability? Can the culture of participation at that level, you know, change such that the people can ask questions of the politicians who are bringing, whatever it is that they're offering, if they get elected to the table?
I think we're talking about political communication, right? But how about political education? I think that's where this whole thing is germane. So while we're talking about political communication now, which is among the politicians themselves, the concept of communication, you would know very well, is a cycle. It's a cycle. It begins with you encoding the message and someone else decoding it as you encoded it. Until there is mutual understanding, there isn't such a thing as communication. But whether or not that happens at the campaign grounds, that's another thing altogether. Then you also want to ask the question. For instance, I mean, we've referenced that political communication event where Father Kuka spoke, President of the Senate spoke, Speaker of the House of Representatives spoke, a number of other people, including the DG of NILDS, also spoke, and they all spoke to a myriad of things that should happen, and they're talking about campaigns. Now, one of the crucial things that I find very interesting is that the Speaker of the House of Representatives made a clear statement about what the laws provide concerning political education, political communication. Let's hope that is something that will be enforced by the authorities. Who will enforce it? I guess we'll also wait to see. Well, as you said, while we wait to find a way to address those audio issues, let's take a short break, take a message or two, and we'll be right back to continue the conversation. Well, thank you for staying with us. Well, We still have Mr. Sado with us, but just before I throw this back to you, Bukola, let me ask Mr. Sado that question, around, the laws. And I think you and I chatted about it earlier. Mr. Sado, if you can hear me well, you also saw those slides, that we put up the other time, particularly the one attributed to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, talking about the provisions of the law, the Electoral Act of 2022, concerning political campaigns and how those things should be focused on issues and devoid of sentiment. What are the chances of that law being stuck by politicians in particular across the length and breadth, irrespective of which office is being vied for, as low as the councillor or the House of Representatives? In your opinion, who should be compelling or enforcing that law should be obeyed?
Well, Ayo, it's going to be very difficult for you to bring law into campaign conversations in Nigeria. Buki said something while we were trying to sort out the connection. She said something about the fact that they hire crowd to come on campaign ground. So people who are generally there, they are just there to clap, to cheer up the campaign, to cheer up the gathering. So nothing necessarily is being communicated. But there is something that I think it's important, which will be for us to begin to have meetings like town hall meetings that is well organized by the candidates or the political parties in such a way that you are able to select certain group of people from the society that can be like representatives of maybe civil society organizations, that can be representatives of tribal groups.
Just 1 second, Mr. Sado. Mr. Sado, did you say that it is going to be difficult to bring the law into political campaigns?
Yes. Okay, Ayo, for instance, you are asking, I'm just trying to say that if you have a situation whereby you have a group of people who take, for instance, something that was said by Governor Yaya Bello recently, and where it was said in his language. And when people started asking, they started giving it all manner of interpretations. So how do you enforce a law with such kind of conversation? But what we should do is rather to encourage the leaders. And sincerely speaking, honestly, let us give it to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. He has led in a very, very interesting way that he had communications with people. Let us bring out these people to television platforms. Let them communicate with people. Let them go into small groups. Let them speak to these people and let these groups be able to interrogate them. Let them be able to have conversation. It is one thing for someone to come on the campaign stage and shout, I will make Naira equals to $1. I will give you this. Then the people will just clap. But in a case where you are able to bring a proper conversation, that like we had the meeting you guys showed earlier on, there were people who were in the hall who understood what was being said, and if they were given the opportunity to ask questions or to contribute, they would have been able to do that in a way that there would be a proper understanding of what every one of us want us to do. If you want to bring it,
well, Mr. Sado,
yes,
if the people can ask questions and contribute to the conversation at political campaigns level, then political education is at the heart of the matter, as Ayo said. Would pick up on that point after the break. We must go for a break now. Stay with Sunrise Daily. We'll be right back. Yes, welcome back, and thank you for staying tuned. We still have Mr. Matthias Sadu with us, and we're looking at political communication, a very critical subject, especially as campaigns begin ahead of the 2023 general elections. Mr. Sadu, you were making a point earlier about how critical it is for the people to ask questions, and I was saying that for questions to be asked, it is critical for the people to have also the right kind of education. Now, where that is lacking, especially as a result of poverty, how can the right questions be asked?
Okay, first of all, Buki, you see, it is not going to be at those campaign podiums where citizens are going to start asking questions. It will be in gatherings such as town hall meetings, whereby it is properly organized, where candidates have something that I would call an interface with a selected group of members of the society that would have a clear understanding what exactly are the rules of the person or the office that someone is trying to occupy. Someone who wants to be the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria must be conversant with the rules and the rules that his office, the responsibilities of his office. And the people who would be able to actually ask those kind of questions and be able to establish a proper communication will be people who also have a clear understanding what exactly are the responsibilities of those positions. So first, we are not going to be able to educate every Nigerian to be able to ask the right questions. But those who are educated, what are we doing? What we are saying is, everybody is trying to show strength by gathering crowd. We are showing 1 million march. We are showing pictures from Katsina. 100,000 people have just decamped from APC to PDP. So these are things that would gradually taking us away from the real conversation. But if you have a selected group of people who are going to take, for instance, the meeting that was that is organized by SCCI, where candidates are expected to bring their ideas. What's your economic plan? What's the agenda? How do you intend to achieve these things? So by the time someone comes and says, I want to create 3 million jobs every month or every year, then the people who are sitting there can ask, how do you want to do this, sir? And you should be able to explicitly give a clear answer that convinces those people, and those people can now be able to give you perhaps a tick to say, oh yes, you have been able to satisfactorily answer my question. So I think that would be one of the things that can help us. If there are going to be organizations that would call those who are running for offices to come and sit down with them, have an interaction, and let these findings be made public, that, okay, this is what this candidate wants to do for you. An average Nigerian man is responsible for his own electricity, is responsible for his own house, his housing, is responsible for the roads to his house, responsible for virtually everything. Now, these are supposed to be things that we would tell Nigerians and say, these are the things that the government is supposed to do for you. If any one of them is coming and say he wants to run for office, look at the ideas that the person is coming with. If the person says he wants to create something for you that is not necessary, that is not specific to your area, you will not vote for that individual. Vote for those who want to address the issues that concern you. So I think these conversations will actually be had, not necessarily having to say every Nigerian must understand, but having a situation where a couple of people within the society can be our representatives who interrogate those who want to lead us.
Well, Mr. Sado, it turns out that the nature of our politics here is more or less transactional. And so it makes it a lot more difficult for some of these things to happen, because what we see lately is politicians, basically it's about their own interests. So they just mask it with saying it's about the interest of the people. And that's why what we've seen time and again, politicians across board, whichever one of them has occupied any political office, whichever party, they say some things that they're going to deliver, and in the long run, you don't get to see them deliver what they have promised that they were going to deliver. In fact, some say that is why you see the kinds of support you get from, including members of the PDP and the APC, for some say the candidates of the Labour Party. They say that is in protest of their frustration of how the political class has run this country so far. But would it be a good idea if, for instance, in a way to ensure that perhaps politicians are a lot more accountable, we introduce midterm elections here? How feasible do you think that would be to addressing the questions of accountability on the part of politicians?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you, Chamberlain. I think that, you see, the Nigerian people, like I said, we've not been blessed with people who are able to give us information about themselves, about the society, about what their plans are, about their agenda. And so, yes, we see that there is a lot of frustration on with the Nigerian people. But again, about accountability in politics, it is the responsibility of the people to be able to interrogate, ask questions, ask the political players when they eventually become leaders in the society. But first of all, the people who are asking for the vote must understand that the vote that will make them leaders of the society comes from the people. When we begin to have a society where if a government does not perform, people can vote them out, it will become very, very important for those political parties to begin to behave themselves when they get into power. You are in a society where bad behavior has always been rewarded by another opportunity to go and misbehave. If you continue to have something like that, we're going to eventually run into problems. You said something about the fact that our politics is transactional. Yes, but then there are people, I for one, has never collected 1 naira from anybody to vote for them. There are people in the society as well who probably have not done that before. If you have a society whereby there are individuals who could, on their own, interrogate these questions, ask these questions, and then when you eventually become the leader in the society, they can ask you questions about what it is that you intend to do, how you do it, how to, as you behave in the office. These people are always checking on what you are doing. They are checking on the things that you are doing. They can write a letter to your office. They can call you out to, you see, one of the issues that we have seen in this country since President Muhammadu Buhari became the president of Nigeria for almost 7 years now. How many times has he communicated to the Nigerian people? How many times has he come out to have an interface? How many times has he organized, town hall of meetings to check what is the performance? How do you measure what we are doing? So introduction of midterm elections, I don't know if it is going to be what can solve the problem at the moment. But if we can have a situation whereby those of us who are not necessarily waiting for any kind of reward, that is personal or pecuniary reward to elect some people, can hold leaders to account. And like we have also seen in Nigeria political system, whereby we have seen that elections votes is beginning to count, that people who want to be leaders are now beginning to buy votes. So if votes are beginning to count, it means that we can now hold politicians to account. And when we are able to hold them accountable, then they can, it will help our conversation going forward.
Mr. Sado, in all of this, we've been talking about the role of leaders, politicians, and all. Let's see if we can hazard one or two guesses concerning what the electorates will do in this entire process. There are those who have said countless times, poverty has been weaponized against the people, unemployment has been weaponized against the people, so it would seem like it's the same cycle of promises that the electorates get all the time, plus the sentiments that are thrown in like some kind of spices from time to time. How do you suggest that the electorate would sift through the wheat and the shaft so that they can get the meat of the matter in all of this melee? What are your own recommendations? Speak as a Nigerian.
Okay, now, an individual comes out and says he wants to run for office. And the question is, why do you want to run for office? And the people who are going to be able to ask those questions are those who understand what exactly it is that the person's or the role that that person wants to occupy, the responsibility of that office. Now, if you have a situation whereby anyone who wants to run for office understand that he is going to be put on a scale, he's going to be measured based on his ideas, his views, his background, his experience, and all those things. And individuals who want to come to run for office would have to come out prepared. So again, here is the thing. Those of us who are in the society who will say, oh, yes, we can ask questions about what you are bringing to the table, we must also come to the table. We must also get to the level whereby we are involved. We, as a group of people, could decide to organize a conversation. Let us have a roundtable conversation.
Sounds like you're giving Nigerians a checklist of what to do and what to look out for. It's really a good place to begin the conversation, Mrs. Sado, because for so many who have listened to you now, the question then is whether or not we will take these things to queue. Unfortunately, we'll run out of time. I wanted to listen to more of your views on what the electorates can do, but we have to thank you for this time. Matthias Sado is a former presidential aspirant and a member of the PDP. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Ariel.
We'll be back after now to take on more on this. Please stay with us.